It's been a little more than a month since a gunman tried to assassinate former President Trump at a Pennsylvania rally. And for many of Trump's supporters, that attack may have changed the way they see his candidacy and his potential second term in office. NBC News correspondent and co-anchor of NBC News Daily, Morgan Radford, has been talking to those supporters, many of them, Morgan, evangelicals?
Many of them evangelicals, Jose, and it was interesting because one thing that they explained was that this assassination attempt is still very much on top of mind for a lot of Trump supporters. In fact, you can sort of hear it in terms they use, like divine intervention. You can even see it in some of the T-shirts and the outfits they wear at these rallies. But what we also learned during this report, Jose, is that it's really reinforced a belief that existed well before the assassination attempt, that the former president has a role to play when it comes to religious policy right here on Earth.
We will fight.
From the pulpit to the political stage.
Give thanks and glory to God for sparing the life of President Donald Trump.
There's a new type of language surrounding former President Donald Trump's campaign.
Divine intervention.
God has his hand on it.
Doubling down after the failed assassination attempt on July 13th at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, which Trump survived with only a minor ear injury.
Trump is still alive, by God's grace.
A sentiment echoed in everything from fan-made merchandise to music videos on social media.
I heard it prophesied that you would shoot, but you would miss.
Before the assassination attempt, white evangelical Protestant voters supported Trump at a rate of 81%. Now, could what many consider to be a miracle strengthen his popularity among Christians even more? To find out, we spoke to dozens of Trump supporters at religious events, churches, and campaign rallies across the country, who talked about everything from their goals for a second Trump term to their fears if he doesn't win.
We need to protect the babies.
It's not logical for a man to pretend to be a woman and compete in any male sport.
To their political opposition.
I'm ready for them to make the Bible hate speech.
Yeah, you think people who vote on the left would make the Bible hate speech?
Definitely.
Allison Painter says she was on the Capitol grounds on January 6th.
So you're talking to an insurrectionist.
You were there.
I was.
Her belief, divine intervention played a role in saving Trump, and it can do the same for the nation as a whole.
We need to have Christ back in our country.
What does that look like to have Christ back in our country? What does that look like politically?
Just like Louisiana, put the 10 Commandments back in our classrooms. We need that.
Shane Winnings is a pastor and the CEO of Promise Keepers, a men's ministry group. He says there's a bigger message.
My message to Christians, and it should be loud and clear now, is if you don't want to be in politics, that's fine, but politics wants to be involved in you.
Do you think this second run of Trump has re-energized the Christian right in a new or different way?
1,000%.
All following a seismic shift among Republican voters happening before the assassination attempt. While more than 40% of Republicans believed Trump was anointed by God in a 2020 survey, that number dropped to just 18% 3 years later.
One of the reasons why we see Trump and many others in his orbit using religious language and specifically going to talk to Christians and Christian audiences is to try to reinforce those connections.
Connections that are now resonating with some Trump supporters, like Joseph Patterson.
It was a miracle.
So if Trump has been divinely protected, does that mean that he has to listen to Congress or listen to man-made entities?
He has free will. He can listen to himself, you know?
Even if it's against maybe, you know, the will of the American people or the Supreme Court or Democrats? So whatever former President Trump says goes? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah.